Сверочка. Все.
Все за нашего одноклассника Леху Камышова. Выстрел.
Around Vladimir Putin's residence in Valdai, air defenses have been significantly reinforced. There are now 12 positions, mostly equipped with Pantsir-S systems mounted on special towers. By comparison, in 2023 and 2024, there were only 2 such sites. According to Radio Svoboda, which analyzed new Yandex satellite images and photos from the Yandex mirror service in Moscow and the Moscow region, home to over 20 million people, journalists counted 60 air defense positions. Valdai is a town in Russia's Novgorod region, located between Moscow and St. Petersburg. It lies on the shores of Lake Valdai in the center of the Valdai Hills, approximately 217 miles, northwest of Moscow, approximately 87 miles, southeast of Veliki Novgorod. The first Pantsir-S air defense system near Putin's residence was spotted by local residents in January 2023, and another was identified by Radio Svoboda journalists in July 2024. OSINT analysts joke that these new fortifications resemble Flaktürme, anti-aircraft towers used by the Nazis during World War II. According to media reports, Putin's alleged companion, Olympic champion Alina Kabaya, often spends time in Valdai together with their children. As the Russian outlet Proekt reported in 2023, a new house was built there for Kabaya and the children, and her assistants were given apartments near the Russian president's residence. Next to Putin's dacha is Kabayeva's own mansion, with an area of 1,200 square meters. Construction began in 2020 and was completed in 2 years. Journalists believe she is the dictator's mistress and the mother of his 3 children. Putin, Kabaya, and the children use a separate railway line with a guarded station built in 2019. The station has a helipad from which the dictator flies to his Valdai residence. The Russians wanted to avenge a fallen classmate, but everything went according to plan. Crappy soldiers combined with crappy North Korean ammo, and you get this.
Будет мстить. Сверочка. Все.
Все за нашего одноклассника Леху Камышова. Выстрел.
Even as Putin prepares to meet Trump, it's worth bearing in mind that the war in Ukraine is only one of a host of grievances that Russia has against the US and the collective West. Conspiracy theories about Western anti-Russian plots are a major driver of Putin's agenda. A commentary from the Russian journalist and blogger Anastasia Kashavarova spells out a description of what she says is how Western narratives are being used to destroy the national identity of Russians. Our Russian officers from the General Staff helped me greatly in analyzing the situation of undermining us from within, providing food for thought and filling in the gaps in my knowledge. I am extremely pleased that we have such brilliant minds among us. I would make a special unit out of them. The West is purposefully seeking to bring about the end of Russia's existence. It is difficult to defeat us on the front lines, but this is only one episode in the West's struggle against Russia. The physical reduction of Russia's population. The most serious thing is happening in our minds. The country can only be destroyed if we ourselves are destroyed. Our traditions, values, and the Russian language. The West's steps to destroy Russia, blur its identity, and cause it to lose itself. I will analyze each step in a separate post. The physical reduction of Russia's population as the bearers of traditional values through war. The prevalence of corruption based on liberal values. This creates a catastrophe in strategic industries and, as a result, a shortage of weapons, uniforms, and water problems in the new territories. The destruction of the traditional family and the spiritual concepts of Russian woman and Russian man. Filling these images with destructive narratives. depriving Russians of legal subjectivity through a flawed concept of multinationalism, provoking in this way the growth of nationalism based on the animal instinct of self-preservation rather than on traditions and national self-awareness. Demographic stagnation due to imposed values such as child-free lifestyles, LGBT, open relationships, and the infantilization of society. Replacement of Russia's indigenous population, who are dying on the front lines, with immigrants from Central Asia, legal and illegal migration, and elsewhere, which is eroding the Russian core and displacing the language, culture, and traditions, including through mixed marriages. A change in the vector of Russian spirituality, i.e. the loss of our national characteristics, as well as the absence of an ideological foundation for the support and development of statehood and the individual. The enemy takes into account all the problems of our country and exploits them. For example, it takes into account the interethnic and interfaith composition of Russia and emphasizes disunity, which creates conditions for the division of society and the separation of Russia. Science, education, upbringing, and attitudes towards religion have been eroded for decades by the henchmen of Western structures, who have worked and continue to work within the country as enemy sabotage groups. Under the guise of solving problems, participating in the fate of the motherland, and protecting the population, they instill destructive narratives that undermine faith in the country, the government, the state, and even in one's own strength. In this way, people who have lost themselves, who are limited, uneducated, ill-mannered, accustomed only to consumption, and spiritually weak, are easily incited to rebel against the state. Meanwhile, their national trait of defending the motherland and giving their lives for the fatherland and their own people is weakening. This means that the state is also weakening. The West has managed to defeat us twice through internal problems, in 1917 and in 1990. Our task is to prevent this from happening a third time. The Russians have resumed exporting Ukrainian grain from the occupied areas of Zaporizhia region to the ports of Rostov-on-Don. Despite drought and a minimal harvest that should have been enough only for new sowing and the region's needs, they are hauling it to Russia to cover their grain crisis. History repeats itself. The Holodomor of the last century returns with the new occupation. In Hungary, drone footage captured a $30 million estate belonging to the Orban family. The Prime Minister claims it is merely his father's farmland. The video also shows zebras grazing near the estate. Apparently, there wasn't enough money for sheep or goats. Viktor Orban has long faced accusations of corruption, with critics alleging he funnels state contracts and EU funds to allies and family members, enriching his inner circle while tightening political control. President Trump is explaining what could happen in Alaska.
If the first one goes okay, we'll have a quick second one. I would like to do it almost immediately, and we'll have a quick second meeting between President Putin and President Zelensky and myself if they'd like to have me there. And that would be a meeting where maybe it could be absolutely work. But the first meeting will not work that out. Certain great things can be gained in the first. It's going to be a very important meeting. But it's setting the table for the second meeting. I think the second meeting, if the second meeting takes place, now there may be no second meeting, because if I feel that it's not appropriate to have it because I didn't get the answers that we have to have, then we're not going to have a second meeting.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comments section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.